Potter and the Velvet hasn't really done anything. Anyways, so this is the kind of for a little bit I'm gonna be talking about kind of steer myself away from the stream mentality and to like right here I'm going to start talking about I've kind of learned in this game and things that might have been overlooked. I did a video recently on essentially how you should be leveling up your character. I haven't been playing for a bit. I'm level 17 right now, and there's a couple things that I want to bring to everyone's attention to just in case you're new. There's a lot of other YouTubers, other community people, a lot of fellow gamers. I guess I don't know how to pronounce it, but everyone's kind of has their own ideas of what is the way. And honestly, it's not. I don't want to. Last time I kind of was just like, okay, first you do smithing and then you get trade and like or what have you, and you just kind of pick what you're good at and max it out to level yourself up. Smithing is so if you're trying to like increase your levels very quickly so you can broaden your abilities and essentially be in a great spot. Smithing is fantastic. It took me like maybe less than an hour to go from 90 smithing to 280. And it essentially boiled down to me crafting swords. Now, throughout, let's see if I can. I didn't really want this to be a long video, but sadly I'm kind of in a really bad area. So I'm going to kind of just explain it to you, but I don't want people to, you know, bum rush strategy and then just take away their fun. I wanted to learn smithing because I want to make legendary weapons. I did not, however, know that some weapons sell for a ridiculous price. Yeah, this is the one I crafted. It sells for 35,000. That completely refunds my whole cost to make the sword. The sword only cost about to make it maybe I don't know, like maybe 2,000. But by the time that you actually are able to, like, the swords you craft are going to make you more than what they are costing to make. It just requires a little like knowledge of what you're actually making and like the parts needed. I might, if you guys are actually interested, I can give you a video on like what style of swords to make because some swords don't give you any XP. I've noticed that two-handed swords, especially two-handed that double as one-handed, make a lot of XP, and especially two-handed that have a lot of damage. A lot of like the more damage you can make, especially if you make the sword increase its length, it will invariably just put a random word in that doesn't probably work. But those will level you up. It gives you like 4 or 5 points. I'm not sure if it's because of the new patch that did it, or if it's always been in the game and I just was too busy doing refineries and just I thought that refining would be the way to level up, but it's actually just making swords. And smithing might be, in my opinion, one of the main, as with trade. I don't think medicine. I think these three, smithing, roguery, and trade, these three right here are probably, and a little bit of scouting, but I'll go into why you shouldn't really worry about scouting. So smithing is probably going to be your most important, just because it gives you this, gives you these perks. You get to choose between vigorous smith, increases your vigor by 1. When my last video I talked about attributes and why attributes are important because it gives this up. My control was at 8 and it takes so long to get attribute points that smithing gives you free ones. It gives you 1 automatically just for picking it. You get to pick between vigor or control, which means you get to either become better at bows and throwing stuff or you can be better at swords and whatever. I'm an archer, so I'm going to obviously pick that so I can get my control up and make my archery better. Also, where is it? It gives you right here. Yes. So you get another point that you can get into endurance, which increases your riding, athleticism, and smithing. You want to take it because you're better, more smithing, faster it is to level up. Because other than that, you can get the immediately add one focus to one-handed, two-handed. That's good if you want to learn how to like. If you're taking smithing just so that you can become better with your swords and strength, then you can take it. But I honestly, I didn't need it because I like smithing more. Um, cut damage, that's just good for increasing weapon damage, especially when you use two-handed weapons because their cut damage is so high that you just kind of surplus it and you can sell it for a lot more. Um, anyways, I digress from this. Though that was just a little something for people to kind of get an idea about if they want a real guide on how to make the proper sword that gets you the most level. I don't really know. I mean, I know a specific build of sword I was making that would literally level me up, like give me 4 skill points every time I made a sword, and especially once you get the spent smithing is halved, it means that you're making so many swords that you're essentially. What I would do is I'd make a whole bunch of swords, and you'll probably see it when you continue with the stream. But you make so many swords that um, you're putting all your resources into the swords. Then you're just smelting the swords, and every time you make a sword, you're getting 4 or 5 skill points. So then you're leveling up, and then you go in and you can add your focus points to something that you want to do. Normally smithing, stewardship, medicine if you don't have a healer, tactics, all that stuff. Honestly, I think I allocated a lot of this stuff incorrectly, and that's where the crux of this whole video is going to become. Because I have been doing a little research, because some of my friends and my little brother, who also is like a big player of the game, they've been having this thing. One of my friends, he and my brother, they've both had this qualm where when they simulate battles, their troops, their party, invariably dies. And when you're running, 100 people, and you are starting to have, heavy horse archers, and you don't want to lose them, or you have Patani and Fian champions, stuff like that, where your tier of troops is so high that you don't want them to just die off of a. Ooh, gotta level him up. Sorry, but let me. Anyways, I need to get rid of these guys, but I was hoping they would do something for me. Anyways, when you're trying to level up your troops and they are dying, this is the one that is important. And the reason I found this out was you click on this. So first off, this tells you how to level, how to learn them and whatnot, kind of how to follow the guides. This right here tells you what they actually do. When you have a surgeon, it increases the casualty survival chance. So the higher your medicine, the better chance people are of surviving when they get hit or when they get killed or whatever. Right now, I'm not the surgeon. I have it as my wife. She's a surgeon, so that was a bad move on my part. Actually, I should probably take that off. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna have to change that because the one who should be a surgeon is this one, who has 60. Increases the healing rate and whatnot. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. Actually, there's a faster way of doing it. We're just going to go to clan. We're going to go to Soren, who's an engineer, and you're going to be a surgeon now. You can be a engineer. I think she's smart enough. Not really. Only 3 in engineering. Oh well. This is about as good as I'm going to get it. My wife's pretty good at fighting, but that's about it. As we all know. But, nah. So, the point I'm making here is using this little informations tab, it's hard to, a lot of people might overlook this, but it tells you specifically what it is. So when you're leveling up a specific thing, like one-handed, and you say oh, what's the point of skill points other than perks? Well, it's because it increases, and you would expect that to be the case. So when you have 123 bow, now I can use bows that have that requirement. I also do 13% more damage, and I have 11% more accuracy. Once it gets up to the 250s, it's going to be ridiculous. Horse riding is important, increases horse speed and maneuverability, which is fantastic because it starts turning like a car. It doesn't seem like it actually increases speed in general, but it is, as you can see, it's a personal stat. Most of these up top are going to be personal stats, just how your guy does in variable. Like, they all have their own personal stats, how good they are, whatnot. One thing that you can do is pick a ally. You might have seen this before. Ally who can also do smithing. Talia is my main girl. I like leveling her up, and she essentially smelts all the stuff. If you want to level up your companions, smithing, because it gives you SP. When you level them up, they get stronger, and you get to keep them in the party. If you don't know how to smith with your companions, I will show you in just a second. Or maybe I'll make a second video on it. I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably just do it now, and then if no one watches it, you can just be like, oh, leave a comment, say, can you just do a specific video on this? And I'll say sure, because I've got no problem. I want this game to be a success. But yeah, smithing, other than that, smithing is mainly perks. It's not so much because the max difficulty of a weapon that can be smoothed, it's only important if you're trying to make a fantastic sword with all the stats. But even when you don't, the penalty for not having the requirements is you lose 2 speed, 2 handling, 2 damage. It's not a huge deal when you make a sword that is 3 times better than what you have currently. So even if you make it and you can't, and it's a little bit less, it's still better than what you've had. So speaking of, like the sword I've made, I made a dumb sword, but it has 87 cut. The swing speed isn't great, but it also has a length of 101, and it's because I'm a horse rider that I want something long enough to actually attack people. Its handling isn't terrible. If I was a better swordsman, handling that at 80s or 70s would be fine. But for me, I kind of want something I'm not at a 90, so I'm hoping that I can make a sword that's on a legendary status. Some other weapons I made this one for her. This one's actually really good because it's here. So it's a one-handed and a two-handed weapon. It's two-handed, it does 100 cut with 103 swing speed. It's fantastic. Good handling, good length. And then when I goes one-handed, 75 cut, not terrible. Its swing speed decreases, but not by a lot because it still has a ridiculous length. So I made something that she could kind of use while also increasing her bowmanship. Sadly, we can't craft bows. That's a shame, so you have to kind of get the noble bows, or they have the step bow for horseback, and then they have the noble ranger bow kind of deal. That's the Battanian specialty. Those things are good for on foot. Anyways, yeah, and then all my other guys have their own swords that I've just kind of given to them, or given them spears, what have you. Anyways, let's not get off topic too long. So, the reason why I am kind of talking about this is one thing that people have been having a curious or a conundrum about, right? Is what is really worth putting your focus into. And I'm going to give you an idea of what everything actually does, because things are going to get really overlooked, and with this little informations tab, most people might overlook it because there's so much information on the screen that you're more focused on, I want to get all my perks, instead of what does this actually do. Scouting's not a huge deal unless you don't want party members who have it, because most people, Ilmar is my scout, so we're going to use this. Since he's the scout of the group, we're using it, so he has a better chance at finding people, better radius to detect, etc. If I were to use, my wife, she's not really that good, but she's a good tacticianer. But it's a personal thing, so it doesn't really matter. Personal stats are something that you will want to have, because, just because to my knowledge, if you simulate, it's based off of your simulation stat and not them. Just like party leaders, stuff like that. The reason why some of these, where's the party leader one? Right here. This one's important overall. So party leaders are based off of who you're with. So my wife is part of like the in-game characters. So if I wasn't married to her and I was just like she was building an army and I followed her, I believe she'd be considered the party leader. So we would go by her roguery stat or her trade stat, something like that. But I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. I would assume so, but at the same time, let me check something now that I'm actually, because if not, it would be, I would be able to like actually establish them as a party leader instead of me. I don't really, I mean, could I? I don't think so. But anyways, you don't want to overlook some of these. If I was to redo my campaign, I would probably put more focus into roguery for one reason. Battle loot at 4%, just because, you know, it's 16. So you start off at 14%. I mean 4%. If you have a high enough roguery, so you get like cunning or, you know, move fast, faster raid villages, more loot from village raids. So this is kind of a stat that you use for doing like underhanded banditry stuff, which the way I play, I don't really like doing that. However, you're able to recruit bandits to your party instead of slaying them. Well, I can do that right now without that. Anyways, oh, that's cool. Let me not get distracted. It's easy when I have ADHD. Battle loot was something that was in the game in Warband. It was the whole point of battle loot is when you finish a fight, that if your battle loot's high enough, you get better stuff. Which is really good because you know how when you will kill, or not kill, but like you defeat an enemy lord or an enemy king, and they have, you know, all gold items and whatnot, but all you're getting is like a, you know, a broken spear and some throwing axes. It's because your battle loot isn't high enough. If you have it at a higher setting, you're going to get better stuff, and that's if you're trying to go through with like a battle-esque economy. You can either go trade, which is, you know, if you go trade economy, you're more liable to like just talk to people and then make your money that way, so you can buy yourself a good weapon, sword, armor, what have you. I honestly think smithing's probably better than all of them, just because once it's high enough, you can literally like build a sword in someone's build a sword, go to their city, sell the sword, and then take all their money, so they can't pay for anything. I'm not sure if that messes up the economy or it boosts it. I might try it on my own city just to see if they find someone who's willing to pay. Because when you sell a sword for 60,000, they are going to try to resell that sword for like 160,000, and that might boost my whole economy by absurd bounds. But I don't know if there's any game character that has 160,000 just sitting there. But I digress. So roguery is one of those skills that people are going to overlook unless you're trying to make a bandit campaign, but battle loot's important. Charm, obviously, relation to increased NPCs. Leadership, leadership's pretty interesting. Increases your garrison size, but the garrison size is only based off of one thing that you might get confused about. So party size is basically how much you have, which is 109. I actually feel like they should kind of switch this, because right now my party size is like 109, and I own Faikon or Faison right now. And where is it? Right here. Thieves. So we go over here, and its garrison's like 73, but it has like a max of like some other like 200, like no, 500. But that's what that stat's basically checking, is what's your when you have a city, how much is actually going to be in your city. So that's it. And then the morale. Morale's not bad. If you have high leadership, having high morale without doing anything is pretty good. So not bad. If you can build your leadership, I would recommend it. But leveling your leadership isn't the easiest thing. Oh, wait, no, I'm actually incorrect. Sorry. If you want to build your leadership, I remember how I did it, I just don't do it normally. Go to your armies. It goes for kingdom. I think it only works when you can actually establish your own kingdom. So if you want to build your leadership, you're going to have to do one of these, like, either join a faction or do it this way, where you build your own kingdom, which I might do. I'm pretty much on everything except clan independence. And I have so much money that I could do it at this point, especially with my 2 parties, my wife included. But when you create an army, you use the influence that you have. This little button over here tells you how you get your influence. If you highlight over it, basically their policies for the kingdom, trial by jury, law speakers, sacred majesty, a senate. They've just been kind of putting forth anything. But most things don't cost if you're friends with them. Oh, I didn't know that we... Oh, yeah, recruit those guys. But also, he and my wife and one of my parties I created, they don't cost anything. You bring them together, you get more leadership. That's a quick way of leveling up, which I will have to do. Just make sure you have tons of food. If not, go and buy cattle, what have you. You just need food so that when your guys are traveling with you, they're going to increase your leadership and you don't take any negative stereotypes. Also think there's a glitch right here. It says I have one more point, but I've already maxed it out. I think it's just to acknowledge that I have, for this legendary stat, when I get more points, it can, maybe this will get higher and let me know that I'm over that threshold, so I have a better chance at making legendaries. I don't know. But anyways, so that's leadership. You have trade. Most people have done guides on how to do trade. Just go into places, find how much they cost, then sell it for a better price to somewhere else, etc. Stewardship is extremely important when you're at where I'm at. Right now I'm a quartermaster, and what this essentially is doing is, as I'm roaming around the countryside, since I now own a property, I am essentially accruing skill points every turn just from existing, which makes stewardship really important. And it's weird because stewardship is just knowledge of settlements and like how to like, it's probably one of the more important ones just because you need it to establish a kingdom better than you need like leadership, charm, trade. Charm, I mean, honestly, you could just do a save scum system where you just keep talking to the same person you don't want to have beef with until they say, you know what, I don't want to have beef with you. You could do that. It's not fun, but you can do it. As I said before, medicines are important. If you're a governor, sometimes assigning making your governor your surgeon is a really good thing because it doubles up. Anyways, and then engineer. Actually, having a governor who's intelligent and has high medicine and engineering is always a good thing. If you want to know how to make a governor, you just go to your fiefs, pick something, assign a governor, and then I just pick her, right? The only reason I'm not doing that is because I like her in the party, and yeah, she's my healer, so I'm gonna keep her in there. But I hope this helped. I hope it didn't make anything too confusing. I'm just gonna do a quick recap just to illustrate these points. I don't want to make this a 17-minute tirade on. You guys have got to make sure you do this. Anyways, so your personal skills are based off of how good you are at something and then how to level it up. Also, if you're stuck trying to level up crossbows, this is something I finally was able to do it, but I didn't max out. A way to go and get your crossbow skill is, let's go and we'll fight one of these guys right here. I'm not really that concerned. I'm pretty freaking fast at this point. Just run through. If he gets help, don't matter. Once we get into this fight, So when you start the battle, you can essentially shoot one of your crossbowmen in the face and then take his crossbow, and then like 2 shots and you're pretty much going to level up your crossbow. We'll go ahead and tell him we're at war, blah blah blah. This is a good way. Also, if you were trying to keep a kingdom, like if you're trying to win outright, do not let them go. Just take them and then put them into your dungeon. And then they'll all be released when the kingdom decides for peace. But until that time, they are stuck as part of your crew. Well, they're stuck in your dungeon and they can't recruit troops, which if you do that, you know, you go and take 7 members from a clan, and most people only have like 7 members in a clan. You take them out, that means there's 7 less people that your whole kingdom has to fight. Well, this is a good little check to see how overall everything runs. When you get good horsemanship, things like, one, I have a great horse, so like turning's ridiculously fast. Double tap W to speed, double tap S to slow down. I'm gonna have to hit F6 because they're about to get taken into a charge. I do not want my guys getting. Oh, I actually killed him. Oops. One thing to note is sometimes having a balanced army isn't the best idea. I just like having a balanced army. I don't even have a balanced army. I have more horses than anything. I missed that shot. Missed that shot. We're just gonna go ahead. Oh, he died. Or not. He fell off his horse. Son of a... There. Good shoot. Alright. But I think that it concluded my brief overview of how to play this game. But yeah, no, I'm just going to go into the stream portion where I just enjoy the game and talk about stuff. Or at the very least, maybe also like doing jumps from my horse and shooting. It doesn't do anything, it just makes me feel cool. I'm not sure if it gives me more XP. Eh. Yeah, all my crossbowmen. It's already running. Oh. Yep. Yeah, this sword's really good. Does an absolute ridiculous amount of damage. Let's go ahead and finish that off. Go ahead and finish that off. Oh, I missed. Okay, missed again. There we go. Alright. That's it. I think that was a good test. And I might do a little bit more in a bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break. I got everything out of my way. Let's keep him as a prisoner. We're not trying to make them friends. Go ahead and take all these prisoners. Also, taking prisoners is supposed to give you more roguery, so if you're trying to build your roguery up and get better items, definitely do that. Highland shoulder straps, not bad. Right now I'm at the point where I'm just going to be buying my own armors and giving it to everybody. But anyways, thank you for checking it out. I don't think I have anything else to talk about for a bit, so I am going to end for a bit. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.